Vampires. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Darren McGavin, the Night Stalker from what is that? 1972, Kevin?
72. It's
Ooh,
almost it's
good
as old,
year.
almost as old as you.
Well, it's a little bit older than me.
Yeah. This one, this one's 8 years older than me. So I only saw this one in reruns, I think. But it was definitely on all the time when I was a kid still.
Yeah, I kind of remember this when I was a little kid too. Like, I don't remember what channel it was on. It was one of the Milwaukee over the air channels, and you had to mess with the antenna and everything and make sure everything was lined up or it was going to be way too squiggly. We don't have days of analog, not digital, where things come in crystal clear in 4K HD. But it was a good fun time. I remember watching. I want to say I've at least seen this movie before. The second one, no, I know I haven't watched it, but we are for our next episode. So that's when I'll finally catch that. And I've seen the show bits and pieces here and there throughout the years, and I finally have that on Blu-ray as well. So looking forward
I
to
need to
that.
get that too. Like the further I get into the series, and I think I'm only on episode 8 so far of the series. Like the more I like it, this is not a chore to watch at all.
No.
Uh, and I keep talking about this or the series and the movie to my wife, and she doesn't care because it's just not her thing.
Is she just
But
like, oh God, what am I listening to now?
yeah, she's like, I have no idea who Darren McGavin is. So I'm having to tell her he's this reporter that's kind of like Mulder, but he's much cooler than Mulder, even though he's much sleazier than Mulder.
Hey, he liked his
Like
girl. His girl's a little bit younger.
a little bit younger. He was Fletch before there was Fletch.
That's true.
Uh, he Darren McGavin and Kolchak. He was a character and a half. Like I don't know who thought him up. Like a very unfortunate and unlucky Clark Kent, basically.
Yeah, but without the superpowers, the one thing I'll say for anybody watching this is if you're a fan of Christmas Story, you know who this guy is. And if you've never seen Night Stalker or the show or these movies, and you've only seen Christmas Story, you're going to have a little bit of a jarring experience going into this, and you're going to be thinking, what the hell am I watching with this guy who's like the great dad from that movie? And after maybe about 5 or 10 minutes, you start to understand, oh, okay, I get it. He's just doing a different role, and you kind of dissociate from Christmas Story, but it is a little bit of a jarring experience for that.
Well, the funny thing is it was the opposite for me. The first time I saw a Christmas Story was super jarring because like there's no vampires in this movie. Like I
That
don't
would
know
have
that I
made the
like
movie
it.
way more interesting. Just saying.
Yeah, fucking bite Santa before he kicks him down the sleigh or the slide, whatever. Would have been much more fun. Probably movie would have been shorter too, but whatever. McGavin, he's great. And I know a lot of people have said if they ever remade the Night Stalker, that they should get Bryan Cranston to play him. And
I can see that.
yeah. But then my friend Dan mentioned William H. Macy, and I'm like, that would probably be even better. Like his
I could
character,
believe Macy could do it maybe just a tick better because he could play a hard-nosed reporter.
he can. And if you've seen Shameless, he like Carl Kolchak has no morals whatsoever outside of like human life. He will do whatever it takes and screw over whoever he can or needs to in order to get a story.
Yep.
And like that part about him is really cool, really respectable. Uh he gets he gets I want to say more responsible once we get to the series.
Yeah,
But
at this point he's a little more erratic and super aggressive with his investigative reporting.
but God bless him, like he's not opposed to possibilities. I think that's his strongest power. Really, is like he's not closed minded like everyone else is. Like the cops shoot so many fucking times at this vampire, or anything else in the series. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But it's like they shoot what 6 rounds at the vampire at first,
Yeah.
and he just keeps running away.
Yeah, the
And
whole and the whole scene outside the hospital, yeah.
yeah, and the police are like, we don't know what we saw. It could have been anything. He might have been on PCP, which wasn't what they said. But like he
Yeah,
kept
they
going,
used
dude.
marijuana as one of the drugs, which I caught, and I'm like, boy, the 70s are certainly a different viewpoint on things.
Wait, what was the exact line? I don't know who this guy is, but I'm willing to bet he's on the pot or the hard stuff. I'm sitting here watching it like,
You're following it just fine.
like not a vampire quite yet.
Pot smoking vampires, that'd be, hey, that's your next kind of Sharknado kind of movie. Pot smoking vampires from Brazil.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I just heard Seinfeld in the back of my head going, now you've got something.
And no Kolchak for you.
No call check for you. Uh gosh, though, like I wasn't sure what the villain was going to be in this because
Right.
I don't think I've seen the original since I was a little kid. Um, so I didn't really quite realize that the Night Stalker was a vampire guy whose haircut is worse than a mix between like Barnabas Collins and the Beatles.
Right.
Like, his hair was horrible, and when you see the first or second victim, the mom is sitting there going, "I thought she was just kissing him."
Yeah,
And I'm thinking to
I thought that
myself,
was funny.
wouldn't you just be like crying because your daughter's kissing a guy with such a fugly haircut?
And then she fell over and you just kept standing there. Okay, you
Yeah.
watched her hit the ground and then you're just like, oh, she hit the ground. How many Mississippis did you count, lady, before you actually did anything?
Well, it's like Eddie Murphy used to say about white people in haunted houses. That's peculiar.
And yet he did the Haunted Mansion, and that was even more peculiar.
Yeah, right. He acted worse than any of us. Damn
Yep.
it, sell out. Uh, but no, I mean the vampire was cool.
Oh
I
yeah, I thought so.
I thought we were gonna get a swerve as to who he was. But they actually show him to you pretty early on in the flick, which wasn't a horrible thing.
No, they
Just wasn't
actually played it
expecting
pretty
that.
straight for this movie, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Um, and the movie, I want to say, is just like the series, but they took so much from the series that was good in the movie, and they just kept rolling with that. And I think they took the things that didn't work with the movie and kind of reeled back on that. Like we got Tony
Yeah,
out of this into the series, his editor, who's a big douche like Perry White, but
yeah,
a softy on the inside. Like he actually genuinely cares about Carl.
right.
Uh, he cares about getting the story, but also doesn't want the cops breathing down his neck because like there is not a single badge that likes Kolchak.
Yeah, none of them. They're just like they see this dude and they're like, "Oh God, what are we dealing with this time?"
Yeah, and they fuck him over bad in this movie. Like
God, they did, yeah.
I didn't see this coming. Like where he's trying to explain to them, I know how to deal with vampires. I can help you. And but he says only for exclusive rights to the story.
Yeah.
If they give him that, but if he publishes it, they're going to arrest him. So
And pin him for the attempted murder or murder and blah blah blah. Yet they know the truth, and it's like, God damn you motherfuckers. I didn't even remember how this ended. And when I saw that, I'm like, fuck you bastards. You guys had a deal and you fucked him anyway.
like
He
I
should have asked
seriously
for
hope,
like a little bit more when he was negotiating. Like, I get exclusive rights, and if I have to get involved, I get immunity.
yeah, right. No shit.
I mean,
Immunity
that's what
should
you
have been
do
the
these days with hindsight, but
yeah, the prenup for a murder.
eh,
But they know he was 70 years old. They, or that he was born in Romania in like 1882 or some shit at that point.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
which was funny because I'm like, so all vampires are Romanian? Okay. Um, but like there was so much evidence that yes, this was a vampire.
Yeah.
His cop buddy actually saw and assisted in killing the vampire. And when the cops all come running in, Kolchak's sitting here like this and looks over, and all I could think of was, "Oh hi."
It would have been funny. He's like, could somebody take my picture? Because this is going to be front page, baby.
I can explain. I can. Just give me a minute to think about it.
Well, and then they
Uh,
blame him like, oh, we had this staked out. No, you fucking didn't. You tailed him. Is
yeah.
how you got that.
Well, the cops, God, they're. I want to say the cops were worse than the vampire was in this movie.
Yeah.
And like for one thing, they're ignorant as fuck. So someone at home's going, so they're like real cops.
Yes and no.
They're ignorant as fuck. They're
Arrogant
wild,
as fuck.
arrogant as fuck. They have this much information and think they have that much. They're convincing and unlikable people is really what they are in this movie.
Yeah, they're like the third domino that needs to fall down along. So you kind of feel for Kolchak as he's like trying to break this story and he's contending with police trying to block him, politicians trying to block him. You got everybody out there is blocking him except for like the public that doesn't even know any better. And so there's a really nice dichotomy going on between that character and the story play. And it really asserts how aggressive he needs to be to get this shit done. Because at first, like you said earlier, he's open to the possibilities, but if you pay attention to the movie, he actually says he thinks he's a vampire. And then as he's
Yes.
learning more, he's like, this guy is trying to become a vampire. No, he actually is. Oh, wait, he actually really fucking is a vampire. So he actually goes through all the steps of, no, this guy is a serial killer. He thinks he's a vampire. And it transitions all the way to the very end when he's like, yeah, you guys, we got a real vampire on our hands, and this is a fucking problem. And then they kick him out. Then he comes back, and then he makes the deal.
Yeah, I kind of had to explain that to my son how that worked. Like
Yeah.
his girlfriend or the lady that he continuously had a WHR appointment with,
Dale.
um, Gail brings him like this stack of like 4 or 5 big books
Yeah.
on vampire myth and lore. And she's like, and even Carl's like, well, what's this? And she says, they're from the library. And my son even says, what's that? I said, that's where people used to go to find shit out before they went to Google.
Oh.
Like, so unfortunately, he's got to like skim all this shit and hope they're the right books in general.
Yeah, I can't just wiki that.
And that's something that carries over into the show. Is him constantly going to the library or sending somebody to the library. So I mean that was kind of neat that started something for him. And then, like you said, he has zero belief that there's such a thing as vampires until towards the end when he sees the crucifix really work.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and like he's like, oh, I don't want anything bad to happen to me because Carl's not brave. Kolchak is not brave at all.
No, like when he was trying to rescue the girl, he's so slow, trying to be so cautious. Then he hears him, then he puts the tape back over her, and he's like, no, 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 I'm gonna go back off. And then he comes back out. Then he gets caught. It's like, dude, if you had been a little bit quicker and a little more willing to rescue somebody, you could have been out of there. And then you could have
Yeah.
had the cops swarm the place and try and nab him alive.
See, I didn't go that. I didn't think that scene was going to go the way,
Yeah.
uh, because they made a tactical error in filming that. If you notice, the vial of blood that's on the IV for her is empty,
Yep.
and the Night Stalker comes in, or Janos, whatever his name is, and hooks up a fresh, huge, big thing of blood. He wasn't fucking draining her; he was feeding her.
Yep.
Like she should have been a vampire too, you'd figure, especially considering she was kept alive.
Right.
The others didn't come back, but if they were still alive and got bit, technically they should have. So that part was kind of meh for me.
Yeah.
The fact that she kind of like flicked the goddamn
The
mouth
tape.
restraint. Yeah, the tape that was no longer sticky for whatever reason. Like,
Oh my God. That just was like, what? And he doesn't notice that right away. He,
yeah, and then you see him muster up the balls to hold the crucifix out to the fucking vampire, and he starts to walk down the stairs. And
backwards.
yeah, backwards until he's just finally like, fuck it, like jumps.
Oh my God.
I saw that and went, bravo, Carl. Bravo. That was realistic. I would have fucking done the same shit.
He
But
had some pretty good moments in this, and other moments where it's like, oh God, what are you doing, dude?
well, for as great as he is, and for as brave as he was dealing with the Night Stalker, or not brave as he was even braver dealing with the cops. And like we were saying before, the cops are more dangerous than the fucking Night Stalker is. If you watch
Oh yeah,
carefully, there is a lot of friendly fire in this movie. Like,
oh yeah. I'm surprised nobody else got shot during like the yeah, during that whole thing. Like they're
if I'm
shooting at him as the motorcycles are coming. I'm surprised nobody got mowed down during that whole thing.
exactly, because as the Night Stalker's trying to get away here, you've got these cops coming up to say bang bang,
Yep.
and then you've got the cop over here trying to drive towards everyone, falling off his bike, going, "Oh dang!"
Yeah.
So like they very clearly killed their friends for this shit.
Well, I gotta give the this props. Like they totally went all out for stunts when they were doing like some big action sequences. Like you wouldn't think the movie would age very well in general. I mean, some things clearly don't age well, like you mentioned the library thing. Like these days you Google, you wiki it, blah blah blah. You don't read a book, you look it up on your phone, blah blah blah. But like for the most part, a lot of this movie does age well, and like these action scenes rival some of the shows that are on TV brand new today with their hokey CGI. Or if they're doing practical, this ranks right up with practical.
I would agree. I would agree. It doesn't, like we said with Terminator last month. It had some good stunts, but really it was the Foley effects that made that show believable.
Yeah.
This you do get the stunts, and there's good Foley to it too. But they did hire stuntmen to like get lit on fire, do flips over cars and shit like that, get thrown through windows. I mean, it was all really convincing looking. It was all real people doing that shit.
Right.
And as far as this holding up today, with the exception of the technologies that aren't there that we do
Right.
have now, I I would go out on a limb to say this holds up better than X Files. Like,
Yeah, well, and X-Files was very inspired by this show. Like Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files, has always said his favorite show was Kolchak, the Night Stalker. So he was
yeah,
very influenced. Yes, he kind of did things his own way, but that's why Mulder is very similar in style, but he's more of a Fed agent who's hardcore about one particular story, but open up to like everything else, monsters to aliens, whatever. But
yeah,
I mean, clearly this whole franchise inspired some really creative minds to bring, regardless of what you think, X-Files lasted a very long time and has a very dedicated fan base. And you can even look at shows like Supernatural, and they got
yeah,
influence from this. I mean, you can go down the line, and hey, it may not have been the first, but it was the best that inspired everybody. And hey, can't really go wrong with the Night Stalker in my book. And I had a hell of a time. I started writing notes when it first started, and by the end of the movie, I was not writing notes and just enjoying a damn fine, fun movie.
yeah, kind of, huh? I mean, you know me. Usually, I take like anywhere from 5 to 20 pages worth of notes, depending upon what I'm doing.
And you sent me
Uh,
pictures of those notes, so there is proof of that, people. He's not just saying this.
it's true. Like between notes and riffs, it's all written down, and I've got like what 4 or 5 notebooks at this point in just the year we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this, but after a while, it's like, yes, I'm poking fun and cracking jokes while in my head while I'm watching. That's just my nature. But like, I'm really enjoying this movie. I didn't want to pause it to have to write this down. there were some important things that I wanted to remember, like Gail's
Right.
name. Uh, the fact that he keeps telling her, you should quit your night job. You should quit working nights, which is a nice way of saying, Roxanne.
I'm gonna
Uh,
save you.
and that's where the cops really fucked him over. It wasn't the arrest warrant, it was the fact that he asks this kind prostitute lady to be his wife, and she says yes. And then he goes to get his reward from the cops. And by the time he's there, they've ran her out of town. And he never hears from this lady again.
Yep. And he swears he's never going to hear from her again either, even though he's going to look for her, kind of look for her. I'm like, yeah, you're really not going to look for her, are you?
If only he had Facebook.
Or MySpace. I don't know. We got to have some sort of fun old reference on that.
That's funny. ICQ. But yeah, like
You've got mail.
I was so excited for him because I know the remake of the movie in the early 2000s involved a much younger Carl Kolchak who believed in vampires because his wife was killed by one.
Oh yeah, the show, yeah.
And so, yeah, once I read that synopsis that you sent me, I was kind of like, there's no reason for that to ever be. Like, I don't want to watch that. It sounds stupid. I'm nice and happy with this.
Yeah, we're
uh,
talking about the Stuart Townsend remake that was just called The Night Stalker, and it wasn't very good.
they got Lestat to play him. Wow.
Oh, they got at least I think it's Stuart Townsend. Let me look that up while we're talking here.
Now, the last I heard from him was him wanting to become a rock star after filming Queen of the Damned. I have not yet to hear any of his CDs, but hopefully it works out for him.
Right.
Come to find out, it did work out for Jeremy Renner. My wife's like, oh, I love his music.
Yeah, Stuart
Hawkeye.
Townsend played Carl Kolchak in that remake show on ABC.
Good for him. I don't see it, but I won't. So that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but this movie needs a reboot. I can't say I don't care who plays Kolchak because I mean it's has to have a certain wit about him.
Yeah.
But this was such a unique movie for its time. It was Jimmy Olsen with monsters and shit. This was way ahead of its time, and it's well past its time. It needs something like this could do really well today. I think whether it be a Shutter exclusive or even something on Hulu, just not Netflix.
Yeah, well, it is the property, I believe. I don't know who owns it, but I think it's an ABC property still, which means it
Uh,
would be Disney, which means Hulu would be a possibility. Hey, they're doing Prey, they did the new Hellraiser movie, and they got like an Aliens TV show coming out sometime in the near future. So maybe that's not a bad option, but I don't know. I would love to see a remake. The only person who I think would do pretty good in it, I don't think would do it. That would be Bradley Cooper. I know it's kind of
ah,
a very interesting choice for me, but he could use something a little on the edgy side to remind people just how really good he is. So
they need to go watch fucking A-Team then, because he was cool in that. I
yeah,
don't care what anyone says.
I did not mind A-Team. It wasn't great, but it was all right.
It was fun. It had Patrick Rocket in it. It had Liam Neeson
Yeah.
and not Mr. T. It was pretty decent for me.
They had a cameo with Dirk Benedict, which was fine, but it,
Uh,
it you can't just go into it assuming it's exactly going to be like the TV show. They had a big budget reboot of a movie. It wasn't going to be anything like the show because in the 80s, even that hit formula after 4 seasons and it barely made what was it, 6 seasons? And it
yeah,
wore out its welcome because of the changes they made.
that and the like 4 wars had passed since the original TV series. Like it went from
It
Vietnam, Grenada, First Iraq War, Afghani War. Like many things had passed.
was a little out of date.
Yeah, so it couldn't be that they were war criminals or framed for war crimes in Vietnam anymore. Now it's, of course, Iraq or Afghanistan, wherever it was.
Right.
But this, speaking of locations, this doesn't take place in Chicago like the TV show did. It was Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, Las Vegas was a great setting for this, especially 70s Las Vegas, which
Yeah.
definitely had itself a it didn't look as shine and bright and family oriented as it did. It looked like grisly, dark and gnarly Las Vegas from the 70s, where anything could happen in Vegas and not necessarily stay in Vegas.
Yes. Well, you'll stay just forever.
Indeed.
Excuse me. But yeah, like I was really kind of surprised about that. And if you haven't gotten there in the series yet, I want to say they make a reference to him not being able to go back to Vegas.
Okay.
So yeah, they do cover it or talk about it, but this I was totally kind of thrown off guard about that at the beginning. I was like, oh, so he's in a completely different town? He's working for a completely different paper,
Yeah.
but he's got the very same editor in chief. Cool.
Well, maybe the editor got fired or something. I haven't gotten that far on my rewatch, so I'll see.
No, it's they don't explain it. Like it's just
Yeah.
a continuation, and those two actors worked great together. So they brought him back for both for the TV series. I'm figuring.
Nothing wrong with
Uh,
that.
yeah, like Vincenzo was cool. I really liked him.
Yeah.
Uh, he he's a decent guy for as gruff as he is, and
Yeah.
bully as he is, the editor. He's a decent guy. Like he has that moment in the show where it's like he does want to help Carl help people because he knows that everyone in Las Vegas or anyone in Las Vegas that walks outside at night could be a victim.
Right.
So I mean, towards the end of the movie, they both come to that conclusion together,
Oh
and that's
yeah.
yeah, that's one of the great things about Tony as a character, and that does continue on to the next series.
Yeah. Well, what I like is at the very end, he's like being nice to Kolchak, and it's like, I know what's about to happen to you, and it's not okay, but I it's like, yeah, this like I don't like how this is going down, but it was nice. It was nice working with you, bro.
Via cone bye bye.
Yeah. I mean, it was
um,
too bad. They had great chemistry, but it's back in the show, so you can't keep that away for too long.
it was a very interesting ending. Like Americans traditionally like their happy endings.
This is not a happy ending.
No, like it was barely an ending at all. It was good. It was very believable, but it was not a happy ending at all. Like
Right.
the villain died, and that was it.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good ending for that. I mean, I was pretty pleased with the movie overall. Pacing was pretty good. Good kills. But last thing I would probably say is I really like the scene where the lady was going to her car, the one who Carl needed to rescue towards the end, and she sees the guy getting out of the car, so she goes to her to the back seat door, and she's watching him. And she just lets the dog right out. I'm like, thank you. That is excellent. I don't like what happened after that, but you know, to serve the story, that's the implication is, vampire killed the dog. But just the fact that she was like, I'm not scared of you, fucker. I got
She
myself my defense right here.
she let him get close enough. She had that scared look on her face, and then when she grabbed the door, her face just kind of got hard.
Like, bitch,
Like
you got served.
kind of like when she let him out, like I was just kind of like, "What now, motherfucker?" And then we
Yep.
saw what now.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just kind of like, okay, note to self: the older I get, the more like Frank I'm becoming. Like, do not like
Yeah.
seeing the dog get hurt
No.
because Frank won't watch a movie if a dog gets killed in it. And I'm kind of like, I respect that. I respect that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that was all of it. The only thing that I would have changed in this movie is the crosses that were not very effective in general.
Like tin crosses to me.
They kind of were aluminum, weren't they?
Well, they were either aluminum or they were like tin. They were definitely a cheap metal. I thought they were going to be like wood crosses, you know.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately the stakes were, but not the crosses.
Yeah,
But he should have put them in the soles of his shoes and kicked that motherfucker right in the mouth.
that would have been cool. A little more badassery going on.
So Hollywood directors, call me. Um, yeah, I can't wait to see the second one. I'm super stoked for the rest of the month. I'm glad we're getting to do this month.
Yeah, this is a fun month for us, and we've been talking about doing Night Stalker, and we've had our loyal fans and listeners, watchers, all saying we should get around to doing Night Stalker. Well, spoiler alert, we are.
You're gonna have to tell Steve we're talking about it again because
Yeah, I know.
he loves the creatures as much as we do.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been almost a year that we've been planning this one.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much.
excited.
I wanted to do this to kick off 2023. So this is going to mark season. Yeah, this is the next season of our show, and we're pretty excited. And next week we're going to be doing the Night Strangler.
Who is not into prolonged asphyxiation, apparently.
Nope, and we don't kink shame on this show. So
No. I'm kind of curious and excited for that one because
yep.
on social today, people were telling me that the second movie is better than the first one.
Yeah, I was seeing that too. So I'm pretty excited. Like I can tell you again for a fact, I have not seen the second one before, but thank you, Kino Lorber, for having physical media, and it's not DVDs that cost a bomb. I got the movies and I got the show. They're very accessible, very easy to get a hold of. So don't be afraid to check them out on Amazon. Nope, no affiliate links. We don't work like that here. We're free of charge.
Not yet. But once they pay us, oh yes, we'll sell out.
Yeah. Once we negotiate our exclusive agreement here, then maybe, just maybe.
We'll have to make sure to put immunity in that clause.
Yep, because the second they find out we're canceling all of our subscriptions after getting the coupon code to start that, then they'll get on to us. So
No, this is going to be fun. I'm excited for this. We're gonna
yep.
have a good time, and I hope everybody watching has a good time laughing with us because for as cool as it is, we're gonna have some laughs because it is silly. It's a silly
Yeah.
show. It's very serious for its time, but it's still
God,
very
yeah.
silly.
That's what I like about this overall is it didn't play it for cheap gags. It wasn't slapsticky. It was a 70s thriller movie that used supernatural to be very entertaining and very engaging all at the same time. And they played it straight. I think it was a smash hit home run. And if that's what I think of this one, if the second one is supposed to be better, I'm going to be very, very happy.
Same here. Same here. Because I always thought Exorcist was the birth of horror for the 70s, but apparently this is it.
Well, one of them, I mean, the birth is usually coming in multiple forms, TV shows, movies. Something usually inspires one thing to another. So I'm pretty happy. We got some really fun stuff this month. If you like your demons, wink wink, you might want to stay tuned for our next upcoming episodes beyond Night Stalker.
It's true. It's going to be a fun night, a demon night.
Demon Night, and you want to, hey, do we want to just tell them what we got? What are
No.
illusions?
Well, okay.
But we'll keep quiet about our other one. Kevin's having trouble keeping secrets during this podcast or this video, so we got him hacking up a lung for our audio listeners. Our YouTubers, hey, it's just one of those nights. It's all good.
I'm leaving you guys. Good night, and I love you.
Bye, y'all. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.